All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
And hello, all. It is a great pleasure. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm quite... Oh, please be seated. I'm humbled and overwhelmed, might I say, by your recorded applause. It really means a lot to me. And welcome, Kim.
Kim, how are you?
Who is watching news events of the day. Hiya, kids, says William Lundgren in the chat, which is live right now. And Albert is the commish.
Albert, thank you.
Welcome, Albert, as well. What a busy season. I wonder what the season for the commish is, Albert. Is there something? What do you do when you're not commissioning here on this show? Are you being wined and dined by aspirants who hope that they actually will achieve victory in the brackets, or are you just kind of kicking it and watching stuff go? What is your life about, Albert?
Yeah, I'm actually completely detached from the tournament. And also,
Albert, thank you.
I believe today's opening day, actual opening day for baseball.
That's right, for baseball. This is true. Yeah. You saw that with the Dubs, Draymond got kicked out of the game after like 4 minutes, didn't he? It
doesn't sound half bad.
It's not really It was not.
4 minutes into the show, Mark, I will go. Just like.
Okay. You think that you yourself could be kicked out 4 minutes into the show? Wow. We are early. Stan Pollock, CPA, my favorite CPA. We are a little bit early. I like to start the show a few minutes after the top of the hour, not actually start top of the hour straight up. And there's a reason for that. I know that probably you just think it's sort of my slovenly, lazy, generally kind of I'll get around to it when I want to kind of attitude. But that is not what it is.
What?
I am trying to pull things together.
Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.
Thank you. I am sort of a big deal. And I blame Kim, actually, because Kim does another show.
Kim, how are you?
And we got to wait for her.
Not usually.
I am really kind of...
I blame you.
Well, I blame you, Kim.
I blame you.
Well, Kim, I blame you.
I blame you.
So we can continue like this.
I blame you.
Oh, continue like this.
I blame you. I am shocked and disappointed. I blame you.
All right. Well, Kim, I've made the point. It's really all your fault.
No.
Romania Animal Rescue first into the super chat today with a good morning. Romania Animal Rescue Inc. for $20. Big shout out.
Big shout out.
What great work you do, and how great that you jump into our chat like this. First out with a $20 super chat. And I just might mention we are crowdfunded, so I try to make a big deal out of people who and entities like Romania Animal Rescue that step up and support the show, because we need that support. So thank you, all of you who support in the various ways that there are. There's a Patreon and PayPal link under this broadcast and under most videos, and you can follow those Patreon and PayPal links to become part of the community that supports us. It's like PBS or NPR, where you essentially are the reason that the show stays on the air. That's not an exaggeration. Without you, we couldn't do it. So I want to tell you that Mark's Madness is underway. I mentioned it before, the commish. I'll tell you what's on the show in a second. We've got a great show ahead. And we get into third-party candidacy, and I've got a Holocaust survivor on the show, a Mad Magazine book on the history of Mad Magazine. But right now we are into the madness that is Mark's Madness. Albert, what was the deal yesterday? I know they voted until midnight in the community section. It was pretty close when we left yesterday. What happened?
Yeah, so the Why You Yelling versus what the USA, the Ron Owens drop, that one was really close, even in the community section, which you see here, the 3 versus 14. And then, but the other.
So what one was Why Are You Yelling?
Why Are You Yelling? Yeah.
Okay. And then
the second matchup yesterday was a runaway. Seriously, WTF just blew Trump out of the water. So
yeah, the seriously what the F.
Seriously, what the
beat.
There's never been anything like this.
Okay, again, so seriously what the F will go on to the next round. Okay. And today we have a real good one going, right? I mean, this is. But before I get to what is going on today and the showdown. has the leaderboard changed at all?
Yeah, so I know we've been kind of sticking with Courtney here because we've been.
Courtney was number 3. She was very excited, but to be number 3, top 3.
Yeah, she didn't pick one of the picks correctly. I think she had never been anything moving on, and she had wrong. So she dropped down to 6, but
still in the hunt.
Still in the hunt. Someone who's been very engaged in this, even in the chat and in emails. Daniel Martin's number 1 right now. So
Daniel Martin, congratulations, Daniel Martin, because he has been super connected to what's going on. And good luck today, Daniel Martin. It's going down.
Mark's Madness.
Yeah, what's happening today, Albert? It's oh my God, let me get my this was an underdog that made it in. And here it is.
There's always been in this country 30 to 35% idiots.
Up against.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's either.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Or.
There's always been in this country 30 to 35% idiots.
Vote now in the chat and good luck. You can vote till midnight tonight in our community section of our YouTube channel. Mark's Madness continues.
The Mark Thompson Show.
I mentioned an extraordinary show. I think it really is. We have talked a lot about third parties on this show and third-party candidacies and the damage that is done by third-party candidacies to, well, probably in this case, both of the main party candidates, and probably in every case, both of the main party candidates. History is replete with examples of that. But more to the point, this year, as we try to stave off what are legit threats to our system, our government, and our democracy, our democratic republic, it would appear that third-party candidacies really could, with the momentum they've achieved, really destroy, in essence, is everything I'm reading, the possibilities of Joe Biden being reelected. So that's the 30,000-foot jetliner view. But the guy who really knows this stuff, and the guy who I wanted to bring on particularly because he knows RFK Jr.'s running mate, who was just announced yesterday. Please bring him on now with me. He's the great Richard Greene, the Civics Dean. Hello, sir. Yeah. Thank you for being here, Richard. I want to get, we can talk about third party. Yeah, it's always so great to see you. And I say this to you every time you're on. We really wish you would come on even more frequently. I don't care how frequently you're on. I want you on more frequently than even that. So you always add value. And on this third party candidacy thing, you add additional value because you've met and interacted with RFK Jr.'s vice presidential candidate.
I have.
Nominee. She is, as I understand it, her story is, it's a weird thing, Richard. I was saying yesterday, she's almost the opposite of RFK Jr. from the standpoint of her roots. I mean, she really did have humble beginnings. He started as a Kennedy, and she built a life, an immigrant life, and obviously is the ex-wife of the founder of Google, one of the founders of Google. So speak to me about the value she adds to his candidacy and how you evaluate her and then the ticket itself.
So, first of all, I want to say that what you said about Joe Biden being in deep, deep, deep trouble in terms of being reelected is absolutely true. It's more true than most people know. And the Biden campaign, but also the Trump campaign, are very concerned about this. Secondly, I want to say I don't think it's an accident, so to speak, and it's a tragic thing that the Francis Scott Key Bridge, dedicated to the person who wrote the Star-Spangled Banner, essential to our very country and our democracy, was knocked down just before Bobby Kennedy made his vice presidential announcement.
Wow, that's pretty heavy. I mean, I think it was an accident, but I still think it's an eerie coincidence. You're absolutely right.
Because the truth is, and I love Bobby, I've known him for 25 years. He's one of the smartest, most charismatic, most visionary people I've ever met. But he can truly F up our democracy. But first, let's talk about Nicole. And part of it is because that was a brilliant choice. I think he was just toying with people, with Aaron Rodgers and Mike Rowe and all of that, because that wouldn't get him where he wants to get. First of all, she's enormously wealthy. She was married to one of the wealthiest men in the world, sir. But I have to tell you, I had no idea who she was. And I was at a conference that Jewel, the singer Jewel, put on in Las Vegas a little over a year ago. And I see this stunningly gorgeous, classy, charismatic woman who had this incredible aura around her, and people were treating her like she was the queen of the conference. Like, who is this woman? So I went up and I started talking to her. She's an attorney. She's brilliant. She's a patent lawyer. And we had this long conversation about something that every woman in the country and in the world is going to be attracted to hearing. And that is her belief that, and which is very aligned with Bobby Kennedy's, that certain toxins in our food, in our environment, like glyphosate, et cetera, are literally shortening the time of fertility for women to be able to have children. It's like, wow. And she also said, for those guys out there, that it's also affecting the vitality and health of male sperm. Okay. So it's like, wow, this is a really thoughtful, interesting person. And we talked for quite a while. And I have to tell you, I know a lot of people. I was blown away by her. This is a very incredibly impressive young woman. And I think that when, with her money, she gets out there and they promote the Kennedy-Shanahan ticket, there are going to be a disproportionate, never before seen in history, number of people who are going to go, wow, that is exactly what we want. We want young, hip, visionary, screw the establishment, screw Democrats, screw Republicans people who are not attracted to Donald Trump for obvious reasons, but also not attracted to an 81-year-old man, especially one that they believe is in favor of the genocide of the Gazan people. So we are in deep, deep trouble. And I say we being America, not just Democrats.
Yeah, you really feel that there is a clear and present danger, to use the phrase, to the whole place, to the government, because it's interesting that you do the arithmetic. It sounds, I'm kind of surmising this based on what you just said, it sounds like you do the arithmetic that this third-party candidacy siphons off votes from Biden more than Trump, or is it, or there's no way to know, or why do you see it as such a threat to Biden?
Well, there's no way to know for sure, but I have to tell you, conversations that I've had with people who are doing deep research into this exact topic within the Democratic Party, they are telling me that Donald Trump's supporters are rock frickin' solid. And that Joe Biden's supporters, and we all know this, all the polling tells us this, that Joe Biden's supporters are not. So if you have one side of the equation, let's say it's 50-50, but you have one side of the equation where the support is soft and the other side where it's rock solid, who is Bobby Kennedy going to take votes away from?
So Kennedy's conspiracy theory informed candidacy, the anti-vax movement, that seems to quack more like Trumpian, you know, it quacks more MAGA-ish. The women's reproductive rights, this whole question of liberties associated with that, you know, getting the Supreme Court out of our bedroom, that seems to quack more like Biden, but that's where I could see the Venn diagram overlapping with Kennedy.
Well, you're missing something, and that is that Robert Kennedy Jr. is one of the leading environmentalists and environmental heroes in the country. He has spent virtually all of his legal career fighting polluters. And if you don't think that's attractive to young people and people who care about climate change and the environment, you know, then that's a wrong assumption. So I would add that in. So he's this perfect, if you take the, first of all, if you take the vaccine conspiracy theory stuff out of it.
Okay.
He is incredibly attractive to young people on both sides of the aisle. And then you put that back in, and he is going to pull some people who are Trump supporters, but they don't like Trump. So can he win? No, he can't win. That's the problem. And I mean, I don't think he'd be a terrible president. I don't think she'd be a terrible vice president. I think it'd be kind of a cool thing in a way. But there is no way on God's green earth that if he's polling at 10 to even 15%, he is going to leapfrog two candidates who are polling in the 30s, both of them. It's just mathematically, it will not work. The only thing he can do is to be a spoiler and most likely spoil it for Joe Biden.
So let me follow up on that. And in the way this comment does that, Max the Cat says, do you think Kennedy really believes he can win? Does he really care that his candidacy can get Donald Trump elected? Why is he, you've known him for so long, and now you know a little bit his running mate. Why is he running, Richard Greene?
Why is Jill Stein running, right? Why are any third-party candidates running? Cornel West. You know, I think, to be honest, I think we have a problem with people who are attracted to politics at a very high level. And I think Donald Trump is not the only person in the world with narcissistic personality disorder.
So
right?
You think it's ego play? You think it's an ego play?
I think it's an ego thing based on a deep and sincere. I mean, talk to Bobby Kennedy's supporters. I did a talk for 40 of them a couple weeks ago. And they're smart, they're doctors, they're lawyers. What if they really believe that the system needs to be shaken up and that we need a whole new approach? They don't like Democrats, they don't like Republicans. And I tried, and I think I was successful to some extent, and I want to do more of this to help them understand civics, and that by voting for Bobby Kennedy, you'll make a statement. He'll still come in third. He will have destroyed the guy, Joe Biden, who is going to sign the Women's Health Protection Act and restore reproductive rights. You say you care about that. Why are you voting against it? He's going to sign the background checks enhancement bill. He's going to sign the freedom to vote in the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Act. He's going to sign environmental legislation. He already has signed the biggest environmental piece of legislation in the history of the world. But people don't understand how much Joe Biden has done. They don't understand how much Democrats have done. And they have no idea that we were only 6 elected officials away in this election from getting virtually everything they want. But one of those 6 who is critical, indispensable, is Joe Biden, whether you like him or not. Even if he's 181, it doesn't matter. He's going to sign those bills.
It's odd that so much of what you talked about, the substantive issues to which you've referred, are so overwhelmingly supportive of the kind of agenda that Kennedy, as you say, would be supportive of as well. But I'm sure he might say, but I want to enter into that agenda and the national dialogue, things that haven't been getting enough attention. And this is the way I do it.
But there's another way. In fact, I wrote an op-ed that I'm going to shop around a little bit. And I have an alternative. And that is, don't prey on the weakness and the vulnerability of the 7 swing state voters. Don't screw it up. If you really think that your vision, Bobby Kennedy and Nicole, is so compelling, go mano a mano with Donald Trump in his red states. Go mano a mano with Joe Biden in his blue states. There are enough electoral college votes, other than the swing states, in those states for you to be president of the United States. Take them on. Don't be a spoiler. And if you really had the guts and the courage and the patriotism of your father, Bobby, you would do that.
Well, it's a real thing now. He has enough, you think, Richard Greene, in polling to not only be impactful, but you're saying to derail the potential second term for Joe Biden?
It's Mark, I ran the numbers yesterday and I sent them to you. It's almost a mathematical certainty. I'm going to do a TikTok on it today. It's almost a mathematical certainty. Joe Biden won, for example, Georgia by 11,799 votes. That's why Trump said, I just need, one more than that, right? Yeah. So that is based upon literally almost exactly 5 million people voting. And he won by 11,799. Let's do the math here. So let's say Bobby Kennedy pulls 10% of that 5 million votes in the this coming election in Georgia. That would be how many? How good is your math?
Well, it's 1,100, 700.
No, of the 5 million. 10% of the 5 million.
Would be what, 500,000, I guess, right?
500,000, right. So I crunched the numbers. For him to have screwed up the last election and given Donald Trump the state of Georgia and 16 electoral votes, he would only have to have taken 2.3% more away from Joe Biden than Donald Trump. That would have given more than the 11,799 votes that Donald Trump would have needed. 2%. And the same thing, almost the same thing in Wisconsin and Arizona.
That's extraordinary. So you're saying, look, all he has to do is siphon off, to use the phrase, or get 10% of the vote. But now you're saying actually only 2% of the vote to. No,
he has to.
10% overall and 2% in the swings is what I'm getting.
It doesn't even have to be 10%. He has to pull away just, for example, in Georgia, 11,780 votes more from Joe Biden than from Donald Trump. And of course, the bigger the percentage of votes he has, the easier and more likely, just on the scale of numbers, that is to happen. And given what we said at the beginning of the show, that Trump's support is more solid, significantly more solid than Biden's, that is not an unforeseen event. That's a likely event.
Here's from James Weir. You can probably compare RFK Jr. to Ralph Nader. Nader, a big consumer advocate, captured almost 3% of the vote in the 2000 elections. That was almost 3 million voters.
And guess how many votes determined, and your viewers and listeners are going to be freaked out by this. Women no longer have their reproductive rights because of 537 people in the state of Florida that Ralph Nader caused to be the difference. Ralph Nader got almost 100,000 votes. The election was won, thank you, Supreme Court, in 2000 by 537 votes. Because of those 537 votes, George W. Bush got to pick the Supreme Court justices and not Al Gore. And who did he pick? He picked Samuel Alito, who voted to take away women's reproductive rights, and he picked John Roberts. It would have been a 4-5 Supreme Court instead of a 6-3 conservative Supreme Court.
So much is
because of 537 votes, and Ralph Nader doesn't have anywhere near the electoral clout that Bobby Kennedy has.
Yeah, but Kennedy's got a lot of momentum, and as you suggested, their charisma and momentum. We'll finish up here, but Kennedy will be another Nader, says Karen. He knows he'll spoil it for the Dems. He'll go down in history as the one who got Trump elected. It is weird that, on some level, he must know the arithmetic that you've described, Richard. And
well, guess what? So yeah. I spoke to one of his siblings about this exact point, and that sibling, I won't say who it is, responded with 3 words, which is shocking. And this is his sibling who loves him dearly. The 3 words were he doesn't care.
Wow. Well, then it's an ego play. Again, masquerading maybe on some level or coexisting on some level with, I want to get these other issues into the dialogue or into the public square. Yeah.
Fine. Then fine. But don't run in the swing states. Run in the 43 other states. Have the time of your life. Get the message out. I agree with a lot of what he says. We need to hear it, but not in the swing states at this moment where we are on the precipice, in my opinion, of fascism.
Again, love when you stop by with us. You bring the numbers, you bring the math, you bring the reality, and you bring the passion. Thank you, Richard Greene, the Civics Dean. You can find him on TikTok. You can find him across social media in
At
all of
Civics Dean on TikTok. At Civics Dean.
Civics Dean on TikTok.
Love you, man.
TikTok.
Take care.
Love you back.
Again.
Thanks so much, my friend. All right, Richard Greene, everybody.
The Mark Thompson Show.
How great is he? Just can't get enough of my Richard Greene. Got to get him back.
So good, but it's so hard for me to think of all the crazy things that RFK Jr. has said, and just to think people are going to ignore it. The science denying, the conspiracy theories, the anti-vaxxing, which if somebody like that was in charge, we'd still be knee deep in the pandemic, right? So how can you discount that? It seems like more reasonable people would look at him and go, yeah, not for me.
There's not a small group of people who were not happy with the vaccine mandates. They were not happy with a lot of things related to COVID-19, abatement efforts, like, for example, closing the schools. The kind of aggressive nature of government during that time was something that a lot of people didn't like.
But I agree with you that was more Trumpian in nature.
So, I mean, again, he may be speaking on some level with a message that resonates with those people.
Yeah.
Great guest, says Mars, unbiased and just runs the numbers. Yeah, Richard is really great. And somebody making fun of me.
That's my favorite pastime.
I love that too. Let me just see it. I said, you bring the math, you bring the passion, and Natalie says, and Mark, you bring the anxiety. Yeah, isn't that true? I am a little anxious about the whole thing. But there's a lot on the line, everybody. So, smash the like button like a boss, thumbs up.
Smash it with your iron rod.
I'm losing track, Kim. What do we do? What happens now? We have
we have such a good show. We have so many good guests today. We have, I think this might be the first time we have someone who has organized a whole city. The person who's credited with coming up with West Hollywood, he's also written a book. He'll be here. It's Richard Ashkenazy.
That's
coming in.
Yeah. No. But you're talking about the history of Mad Magazine that will.
That's later. We'll do that
later
as well.
He is the author of the Swords of the Vatican. You're talking about.
Yes.
Yeah. Severyn Ashkenazy. Yeah. This is his story is amazing.
Yeah.
He and his family are Holocaust survivors.
Yeah.
They were hidden in we'll ask him maybe to tell the story, but they were hidden during the Holocaust, and their story of emerging from that, from Nazi power and escaping certain death, and then coming to this country, and then writing this book, which really is super well researched about the Catholic Church and how the Catholic Church was involved in a conspiracy against the Jews, essentially, and to create all kinds of falsehoods. That's called Swords of the Vatican. So he will join us in a moment. But I have to
get a taste of news first, or no?
Yeah. Give me a power newscast, turbo newscast. I know that they sentence Sam Bankman-Fried, a lot of other stuff's going on. So let's get to that. Kim's news, and then our special guest after the bottom of the hour. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
A quick newscast before we get to Mr. Ashkenazy. This report is sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com. A California State Bar hearing judge recommending the disbarment of former Chapman University Law School Dean John Eastman. Eastman served as former President Trump's attorney during attempts to delay and block the certification of the election of President Biden in 2020. So the California Supreme Court will make the final decision on the recommended disbarment. Eastman was admitted to the State Bar in 1997. He could be sayonara, sucker. There is a major fundraiser for President Biden going down tonight at Radio City Music Hall in New York City. President Biden will be joined by former Presidents Bill Clinton and Barack Obama. A lot of celebrities joining them on stage. Queen Latifah is even going to be there. It is the centerpiece of the event, being called an armchair conversation with Presidents Biden, Clinton, and Obama.
It's a huge fundraiser. They're doing really well. And with this fundraising, sadly, it's, the American political system is filled with money, and you need to have it. And tonight is a fundraiser. So,
State of Connecticut honoring a political giant. Connecticut Governor Ned Lamont is directing all flags to fly at half-staff tomorrow in honor of former U.S. Senator and State Attorney General Joe Lieberman. Lieberman, who was Al Gore's running mate in 2000 presidential election, died on Wednesday in New York City. He was 82, Mr. Lieberman. Former CFO of a Los Angeles-based development company accused of embezzling money intended to build housing for low-income and homeless people. This guy, a lawsuit says Cody Holmes used the millions of dollars he took to pay for a lavish lifestyle for himself and his ex-girlfriend. He allegedly bought exotic cars, a must if you're going to embezzle, expensive handbags, jewelry, private jets, also a must, concert tickets, using the money to pay the monthly rent for a mansion in Beverly Hills, because why not? Holmes is accused of abusing his position with the company Shangri-La Industries. The company helps convert old hotels and motels into housing for homeless people through the state's Project Home Key.
Shangri-La Industries sounds like that made-up corporation that George had in Seinfeld. What was that? Mandalay, whatever they called it?
Oh, yeah. That's
Shangri-La Industries sounds completely fake, and I guess it was, as it turns out.
Wow. A neighborhood in the Santa Cruz Mountains losing hope a month after a massive landslide. They remain cut off as the road leads to dozens of homes near Highway 17 is damaged and shut down. City officials had a meeting this week, try to talk about the next steps, but they admit assessment will take even longer because that land is still moving. So, NASCAR is widely known to have its origins in transporting moonshine. Now there might be proof at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. They say a possible moonshine cave has been discovered in a sinkhole right underneath the grandstands. Yes. It was found last week when workers began removing seats to investigate the cause of cracks in the concrete in the front stretch area near the grandstand. So Senior VP Steve Swift says the 700 square foot area includes a small cave and an interior wall that could have been used to hide or even make moonshine. So now they're trying to figure out what to do next. They've had to take 600 seats out to repair this area, and they have to finish it soon because the NASCAR All-Star Race Week starts on May 14th.
I'd be willing to bet my lunch that there's alcohol involved.
Oh, you would be right. This report sponsored by CoachellaValleyCoffee.com, a place to get a little bit of heaven in your Mark Thompson Show coffee cup. Find a huge selection of coffees, amazing teas, which I adore as well. CoachellaValleyCoffee.com and get your exclusive 10% discount for being a Mark Thompson Show listener. That means you're special. Put in Mark T at checkout and enjoy the good stuff. I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah, thank you very much, everybody who joined us. Got a special guest coming up. I don't want to delay too long, but I do have a major
Mark's Madness
event going on the show, as you know, and that is Mark's Madness, and we are in the tough part of the tournament. Yeah. So right now it's either...
There's always been, in this country, 30 to 35% idiots.
Idiots is going off against a fan favorite.
My bad. I'm sorry.
So you vote for either...
There's always been, in this country, 30 to 35% idiots.
Or...
My bad. I'm sorry.
Good luck, everybody. I don't know what the voting is yet, and we will check it out at the top of the hour. Right now, I don't want to delay any longer. I'm really excited to have this gentleman on. His life is amazing, and I think prior, as we were chatting about it, may have confused a couple of facts, but I mean, the fact that stood out for me is that he and his family in World War II were hidden in the cellar of a Polish peasant's family's home in the countryside as the Nazis looked for Jewish families everywhere to kill. And if you were hiding a Jewish family, they would kill you and your family as well. They, despite the threat of that, the Polish family hid his family, as I understand it. And the period that they were hidden was over 20 months. Then after the war, he came to the U.S. He's written so beautifully about, from that personal experience, about religion and the power of the Catholic Church, actually, is one of the things that he's written on and researched quite extensively. I'll let him speak about it, but the power of the Catholic Church in actually manipulating a lot of bad things that happened during the war, and again, the power of religion to get people to follow things that are less than holy. So without any further delay, let's welcome Sev Ashkenazy. Hi, Sev.
Hello, Mark.
Nice to see you, sir. What a life you've had and continue to have.
Well, let's
Perfect.
hope this is not only the first meeting you and I have, but we'll have other things to talk about another time.
I would love it. I would love it. But this time, I want to speak a little bit about your notions about, can you give folks a sense of your book, Swords of the Vatican? I mean, it's a powerful piece.
It is, I have decades of experience. After the war, 18.5 million Jews lived in the town where we lived, which was about a third of the population before the war. The town's name was Tarnopol. It is today called Ternopil in Ukrainian. Out of the 18,500 Jews, 139 survived, and we were the only family unit. This is just to put it in perspective. So the book is, of course, about the Catholic Church, but it is not about me. There is very little of me in the book. I wanted to share with you, with my children, with my family, with my friends, what I know. I did not want it to go ignore, unknown, and therefore the book. And it doesn't matter where you open the book, you have learning and you have news that you probably have never heard before. So I encourage your listeners, potential readers, to read the book. They will not be wasting their time.
You say, I didn't mean to interrupt, but one of the quotes, too often indoctrination into hatred and ignorance is handed down from generation to generation. With the advent of television, 24-hour broadcast, the internet, and social media, the spread of hatred, lies, and misinformation is promoted at lightning speed. We live in a time where truth has never been more at risk. Jews, once again, are the target blamed for the ills of the world. If they are to fight millennia of malicious accusations, they must become the standard bearers of truth. So you talk about truth, and yet you also reflect on a time right now that seems to be distancing itself further from the truth. Everybody has their own truth.
Yes, yes, indeed. Excuse me. It reminds me of the 30s, the atmosphere here. Kristallnacht didn't happen suddenly. It happened over a period of time. And the fact that we have students who are not informed, I wouldn't say poorly informed, but absolutely ignorant of facts, who just espouse a cause that they have absolutely no idea about. And I have a question for you. I'm sure you have Jewish friends, you have maybe close friends. Who is a Jew? What makes a Jew a Jew? Could you tell me how you would describe, or Kim, if she's around, how you would describe a Jew?
Let me just, I think what you're getting at, I mean, I'd be happy to answer the question, but I think what you're getting at is that is it a culture? Essentially, it's so absurd to me because this division based on religion is just utter absurdity. But I would imagine that that all these religions create cultures. There's a Jewish culture, a Muslim culture, a Catholic culture, a Protestant culture, and that there are cultural norms that grow around them. It's more than just personal belief in a God. Am I wrong? Is that kind of what it is?
No, you're perfectly right, but it depends what that culture teaches its children. And that's where there is the basic difference between the Jews and the rest of the world. In 2,000 years ago, a Roman philosopher, Flavius Josephus, known at the time and known to this day to be very, very prominent and quite accurate, who wrote extensively about the Jews fighting the Romans, said that the preeminent concern of a Jewish family is the education of their children. That is 2,000 years ago. Not raising them to put them behind the plow, not raise them because when you're old you want to be taken care of, but you raise them to become knowledgeable. Now, for Flavius Josephus to come to this conclusion, he had to look back for centuries, maybe a millennium, to come to a conclusion. That means that he had to reach to King David, wonderful, who wrote over 1,000 poems, to King Solomon, who was the first king to be known as the wise, and there look at what was the obsession of the families about their children. So it is like a polished stone. There is a difference between a stone that is not under erosion and one that is under erosion. The one under erosion is smooth, wonderful to hold, and may even have the traces of the history of the place.
Well, it brings me great sadness to see the rise of anti-Semitism and the Jew hating that is worldwide, and any excuse to, I think, bring that out, it seems is taken. I want to ask you if you would mind, and I don't know to what extent you speak about this or are comfortable speaking about this, but your life from that kind of oppression and hate and threat. I mean, the threat of death. I mean, they as you kind of just noted, based on that you grew up in Ukraine, and they came through and they rounded everybody up and killed them, and you were hidden with your family. I wonder if you can just speak to that period during which you emerged and then came to America with a sense that you would have religious freedom and also the freedom to live your life in every other way that you wanted.
Well, when you have seen what the survivors have seen, it is very difficult if you have really experienced it firsthand, not been told or taught or read about. It is very difficult to be very religious. My father was an Orthodox Jew, not overly religious, but religious. Shabbat was Shabbat, holidays were holidays. We were quite an obedient family to the Jewish laws. But when we entered the cellar, my father respectfully folded his talit, his tefillin, his yarmulke, the Bible, into a box and said, "There is no God." And therefore we were still Jews and we still celebrated Shabbat. But when you go through what we went through, my entertainment in the ghetto was to hear a whistle from an older boy. We would run and we would watch someone die from hunger. This was my entertainment in the ghetto.
Jeez.
Watch people die from hunger. Now,
so let me just, I don't mean to interrupt you, but let me just understand. Essentially, your father was saying, I'll respect the traditions of our faith, but I no longer have faith that there is
exactly. Okay. You expressed it better than I could have. So this is where we emerged from, and we think we owe our life to the Russians who liberated us and who were not exactly nice to us, but we survived. And from there, we were able to go to what would certainly be Poland after the war. And we spent a little time in Krakow. Then we emigrated to France and the United States.
Did you ever, do you remember the first sigh of relief not literal sigh of relief, but the sense you felt of the unburdening of fear and of the darkness? Do you remember when that was? What was it when you went to France? Was it when you went to Poland? Was it when you came to America?
It was never. It was never. When we emerged, there was still anti-Semitism all around us. Yes, we could see the sun, we could walk outside, but when we emerged, out of practically every branch of every tree hung a man. Whether he was German or whether he was Russian or whether he was a spy or whether he was whatever, they were hanging each other. And the extraordinary vision I have is that none of these corpses had shoes on. Shoes were valuable, so the assassins took the shoes off their victims.
An incredible story. And then what you did with your life here is pretty extraordinary. You know, you got into the hotel business. Was that in your world prior to that? How did you get in the hotel business? I mean, you didn't just get into it. You really excelled at it.
Well, I entered the building business first. I was at UCLA. I was a PhD candidate in literature and had the opportunity to join someone who was building something. So I thought I would take a year or two off and then finish my thesis. Afterwards never happened. I started building, and I built well over 100 different buildings and projects throughout Southern California. And then one day we opened a building, an apartment, all suites, very small apartments, because I thought that was what needed. And people wanted to rent the place for a month at a time. They were coming to work in the movie industry, in this, in that. We had more people who wanted to rent a month at a time than to give us a year lease. And that's how the hotel started. And that allowed me to start the all-suite concept. So I'm credited with inventing the all-suite concept.
And I
built 11 hotels.
That's the gold standard, exactly. That L'Hermitage group is yours. Gosh, congratulations. I wish I had more time to talk to you. Let's visit again. I love that, you're so brilliant as a spokesperson for this history that I think is so easily repeated and so easily forgotten. Albert, can you put up the book again? Because I want everybody to see it again. Swords of the Vatican, Reflections and Polemics of a Witness to Evil. Wow. Congratulations on a life well led and continues to make a difference. Severyn Ashkenazy. Wow, Sev, really enjoyed our time. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. Severyn Ashkenazy, everybody. Bye-bye, Sev. Mm-hmm.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
That's the wrong drop for that conversation. That's the right drop. There you go. Yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yeah. What a remarkable guy, huh?
Wow.
What a remarkable guy.
Think about all the things he's been through, and look at he sits in front of us with a smile on his face and a positive attitude. All of this. I mean, it just, I don't know if I could be that person, and I'm very respectful.
Yeah, I think that you're right. Your spirit could be broken to the point that you would just be no longer connecting the way he hasn't only connected, he's flourished.
But and what good does that do you, right? You at some point you have to pull yourself out of it, because what good does it do to live a lifetime of bitterness and angriness? And so, you forge bonds with people, you do what he's doing, and you talk to people and you get them to understand things and relate to you on a different level.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, it's true. But I have to say, knowing it, it's the same thing anybody who's been in therapy knows, knowing that you should let go of something, knowing that it is a toxic element in your psyche, knowing these things doesn't necessarily mean you can let go. Sometimes you just can't let go. You know that recriminatory instinct you have, the anger you feel, the resentment, or the complete disillusion with the world, that might just infect your thinking, and there's no way to cleanse yourself of it. So
it doesn't do anything but hurt yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're just hurting yourself with that. Yeah.
Stan Pollock, CPA, my favorite CPA, says, great guest. Thanks for having him on. Thank you, Stan, and thank you for recognizing him. Big shout out. Yeah. Tom Gunn, my favorite gun is a Tom gun. $20.
Big shout out.
Super sticker. We're a crowd-funded show, so we make a big deal out of people who throw in a little bit along the way. But really, really cool to have a guest of his stature in, and we hope to have him back in. Boy, I mean, talk about a guy who's met his moment multiple times through his life, and now he's met his moment again with all the rise of hatred, anti-Semitism. It's a disturbing time worldwide, and it's so cool that we could spend some time with him. So, yeah.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Now, I want to get to you, Commissioner. Could you tell me what's happening in Mark's Madness? I expect a tally. We've been voting through this hour in the live chat, and it's been quite the showdown. Who are we voting for, Albert? And where is the count, please?
Yeah, so we have the Jim Avila drop, and then we have Whoopi Goldberg with the My
There's
Bad.
always been in this country 30 to 35% idiots.
That's right. So you've got that, and you've got My Bad, right? Wasn't the other one My Bad? I'm sorry. Yeah, the Whoopi drop.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Okay, so who's ahead, Albert? Please.
It's looking like an upset. Jim Avila is up.
Jim Avila, are you kidding me?
What?
This is unbelievable. Wow.
There's always been in this country 30 to 35% idiots.
If that takes out My Bad.
My bad. I'm sorry.
That is an extraordinary upset on this show. Wow. Wow.
It's a Cinderella run at this point. It's looking good.
John Slade says it. Oh man, how is Whoopi losing? Exactly. That's extraordinary. Well, you have, let me just see. Have you 5 more minutes, Albert, in the live voting, or are you closing it out? What are you doing?
5 more minutes.
5 more minutes in the live voting in the chat. You vote for 30.
There's always been in this country 30 to 35% idiots.
Or you vote for.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Okay, only one goes to the next round in Mark's Madness, and there is live voting until midnight tonight in the community section of our YouTube channel. Good luck, dig in, and may the best drop win. Wow, I am astounded by this, Kim. This is a major development, maybe one of the biggest upsets in the history of the tournament.
Do you think people vote for the drop or the person? Because if you're voting for the person, I mean, Jim Avila is just the nicest person. So
I don't vote for nice people, damn it, Kim. I don't vote for nice people. The nicer they are, the less I vote for them.
Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Well, I don't want to speak to that now.
Don't talk to me that way.
Yeah, that's right. So you can go with the niceness. But you're right. The weird thing about Mark's Madness is you don't know what's motivating the vote.
Right.
You don't have any idea. Like, some people are voting for, right, Kamish? They vote for the drop that they think would be best, like the best drop on the show, the one that's most versatile, the one you can use in the most places. They're voting with a purity about the drop. Others vote like against a Trump drop because they don't like Trump. Others vote, you know what I'm saying? And in this case, Avila. There are a lot of people like Kim that go, oh, I love Jim Avila, and that's him, and so I want to vote for him. So,
I mean, but what does that say about our culture blaster who didn't make it out of the first round?
Oh.
What?
Ouch.
Oh, wow.
To his defense, he was a play-in and had to play probably the second best drop that we have. So
yeah, I mean, he had an impossible pull.
Yeah.
I was just looking at some comments along the way. People are brutal, too. I love it. And Daniel Martin, it was good to be in first place at least for one day. Yeah, Daniel Martin had the first place spot.
Just by 1 point. So it's a logjam up top. So there's still a lot of dogs in the fight.
Yeah. We're tired of Whoopi, says Delwood. That's simply put, we're tired of Whoopi. Worn out or welcome. Okay, well.
Wow.
On the Trump drops, Knit One, Pearl One says, well, on the Trump drops, most certainly not voting for the person. Yet some are very funny.
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah. I mean, again, you're not voting them out. You're just voting them on in the next tournament. S. Jones, the Mark Thompson Show. Thank you. You know, I had a question actually about whether or not there are two questions that have come up. One of them, Albert, you will appreciate, was the question around the trophies. Remember when we got the trophies? When they came
Not
to
this again. Really? I mean, can we let go of the trophies already?
They're probably still somewhere there, 750 battery.
Yeah, for those who are just joining us or not familiar with the show, we have been doing Mark's Madness for a while. We started as a radio show on KGO Radio in San Francisco, moved to YouTube here when the radio station went away. And in the first year of Mark's Madness, we had trophies for the top 5 finishers. So we had them, and Albert had custody of them.
Albert, thank you.
I'm not sure what happened to them, but Albert says that he dropped them in the mailroom, but they were actually... Were they addressed to the people they were supposed to get to?
Yeah, so Lee, our old PD back then, Lee Hammer, wanted me to not do anything that I'd pay for. So he said, that's absolutely, I can't allow that. So I handed it off to him, actually.
Oh, that's where it went to die.
I was like, all right, here are the addresses. And then I don't think they ever got sent anywhere.
Trophies are with the banner, says Nick.
Yes, that's exactly where they are. Yes.
Great call. Yeah. It's sad because I literally bought I knew that the station wouldn't want to spend any money, like none, not even $1. So I bought the trophies. Everything was on my dime, and they still couldn't get to where they had to go.
Whoever is producing this thing
it's not,
has no idea what they're
It's
doing.
not Albert's fault in this case. I think it really is. It was
and by the time we could have any follow-up, I was let go. So I was like, okay, well, I hope they get the trophies.
Yeah, but...
Sayonara, sucker!
All right. I see you later. I'm done.
I mean, they're gone. They're never coming back, those trophies. That's it.
Yeah. Here is the update on Mark's Madness and the voting, everybody. 30 to 35% idiots as we close out this hour is leading 62% to 37%. Again, we're voting for that.
There's always been in this country 30 to 35% idiots.
Or my bad, I'm sorry.
My bad, I'm sorry.
That is 37%. That's Whoopi. So it is idiots versus my bad, and we continue with that until midnight tonight in the community section, but it does look as though 30 to 30% is winning, and will likely carry the day. Wow. Move on to the next round. 2 new drops await you. I will do them right after Kim's news. Smash the like button like a boss.
Smashed it with your iron rod.
It is free to subscribe to this show. It is free to recommend this show. It is free to give this show a thumbs up. If you saw something, if you saw a short, if you saw a video, if you saw a segment that you liked, please share it, because that's the way we stay alive. We build audience across Facebook and across social media because you guys share it. So thanks a lot for that. Kim's news, and then a retrospective on Mad Magazine. There is a new book out. Can't wait to speak to Mark Arnold, who's the author of the Mad Magazine book. I mean, truly a cultural icon for so long. Mark's going to explain how Mad Magazine became so dominant, also what happened to Mad Magazine. I can't wait to speak with him, so looking forward to that. Then we get back to some politics. We get into some Trump. We'll update Truth Social. I'll also update John Eastman, the Trump attorney who got slapped down by the judge. Wow. I mean, John Eastman will be disbarred, I would think. And based on the information that we're getting, and I'll share with you, you'll see why. I mean, he was the architect of a lot of the scheming that went on essentially to undermine the election in 2020. So without any further delay, Kim's news, and then we'll get into all the rest of it. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
on the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister, and this report is sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore. Officials in Baltimore say they have recovered the bodies of 2 of the missing workers on the Francis Scott Key Bridge from when it collapsed. Maryland Governor Wes Moore said yesterday's efforts will now shift to salvage and recovery. 4 others who remain missing are presumed dead there. The hearing related to former President Trump seeking to have his Georgia election interference case dismissed on First Amendment grounds is over. Trump's lead attorney arguing in court today the indictment should be thrown out because of the former president's actions related to the 2020 election being political speech and advocacy that are protected by the First Amendment. Trump and 18 others were indicted by the Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis for their alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election defeat of Trump in that state. Immigration and Customs Enforcement targeting undocumented migrants convicted of serious drug offenses. Officials announcing today more than 200 arrests nationwide of non-citizens who have been convicted of drug trafficking or multiple drug possession offenses, including meth, fentanyl, cocaine, or synthetic drugs. Many of those arrested are expected to be quickly removed from the United States. And FTX co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried will spend 25 years behind bars after being sentenced for his role in the company's cryptocurrency exchange scandal. This comes 4 months after he was found guilty of orchestrating this multi-billion-dollar fraud that led to the collapse of FTX in 2022. Bankman-Fried is 32 years old. His nickname was once the Crypto King, and he was convicted by a federal grand jury in New York City back in November on all of the counts of fraud and conspiracy that he faced. 25 years.
I'm curious about so many things with this Sam Bankman-Fried thing, and I may get somebody on here from the Wall Street Journal or from Bloomberg or just somebody with a little bit of background on this. It might just be a journalist from another publication, but my point is I have questions about how this whole thing happened, whether it actually was a viable business. Sam Bankman-Fried was creating something that was not so much unlike Coinbase, but at least this is my sense of it. It was kind of like a bank where you would store your crypto, and again, just loosely put and broadly put, that's what it was. So could it have been a viable business? That makes me wonder, because clearly there are receptacles for people's crypto that are viable businesses. I just mentioned one of them, Coinbase, crypto.com or whatever it might be. So I have that question. I also have a question about his parents. Now, his parents were, high-end lawyers. One was a Stanford professor. They lived at Stanford. To what degree were they complicit in all of this? And is that the other shoe that has to fall? I really have more questions about this Sam Bankman-Fried thing, and I want to answer some of them on the show in the weeks ahead. So,
Well, I look forward to that conversation. It's his life, who he is, and what he's done. It's so interesting. So I would be interested.
The guy was a phenom, and all things, like why couldn't he use his phenomness for goodness and positivity?
One would hope. What would have really been nice too is somebody with a platform that had a big microphone to do all kinds of lovely things in the world.
Right.
Like Diddy. Right?
Right.
Would have been lovely for him to be a great person.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me. You're talking about Diddy. Okay.
I'm talking about the Diddy. Yeah. We have a little news about Diddy at this hour. Let's talk
Things are
about
not
him
going
too.
well in Diddy land, is my sense of it.
No, Diddy's not doing well. Federal agents found firearms during searches of Sean Diddy Combs' properties in Los Angeles and Miami. That's according to NBC News.
They found firearms?
Firearms.
Well, that's the most American thing you can possibly find at somebody's house, isn't it?
They found that.
So far, he's just a better American because he's got firearms. What else do you got, you lib?
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you this. Federal officials reportedly also interviewed 3 women and a man about sex trafficking, sexual assault,
all right, okay,
illegal
I'll give you
narcotics,
that. Okay.
firearms distribution allegations, which is have the
Wow.
guns.
There's never been anything like this.
Well, it's okay. You're starting to lose me now. I'm sorry.
It's not looking good, as you say in Diddy Land. It is not looking good at all.
No.
Yeah, okay. Wow.
There's a shark lab at Cal State Long Beach. Could lose nearly all of its funding by the summer. The shark lab, the officials are worried state funding will be cut by June. That means the lab might have to close down its programs that monitor marine life and work to protect beachgoers from sharks. Sorry, we don't have the money to protect you from sharks. To stay in operation, the lab is now trying to raise $7 million from private and nonprofit sources. The lab monitors the behavior of hundreds of sharks along the Southern California coast and issues warnings when they think maybe you should stay out of the water.
Wow, I didn't even know they existed, and here
Now
they are.
you're on your own. Yeah.
Jeez.
Go into the water at your own, whatever. All right. Major League Baseball's opening day has arrived. I believe the commissioner was talking about that earlier.
Yeah, this is a big day for commish.
So the season will start as controversy continues to surround one of the game's biggest stars, Los Angeles Dodgers two-way player Shohei Ohtani. The league and the IRS are now conducting investigations after Ohtani's interpreter was accused of stealing money from him to pay off alleged illegal gambling debts. Ohtani is set to make his Dodger Stadium debut when the team takes on the St. Louis Cardinals this afternoon.
And I wanted to apologize to the Asian community, the Asian American community.
Watch your step, everybody. Watch your step. I think there's a lot to this story that we don't know, and I return to something that I mentioned to you the other day. I'm waiting for charges to be brought against the former interpreter and best friend who was accused and is accused of stealing the $4.5 million. I mean, there are all kinds of questions as to how he could have stolen it. But if they don't charge him with anything, then we know that that's a bogus story. They have to charge him with something. And that's a big thing to charge somebody with. He's taken a big fall if it's not true. So we continue.
Also, go Giants. Yeah, go Giants.
What about because we know that Shohei Ohtani makes his debut today. When's the Giants opening day?
It's today.
Okay.
It's a lot of teams are having their first game today.
Not a lot of controversy surrounding the Giants, though. So
they've made a couple of big acquisitions.
Kim, how are you?
In the off season, haven't they, Albert?
Yeah, including the last few weeks. So it's we're making our second push to be competitive. It's a really tough division. Obviously, the Dodgers are there with their gamblers, and then we got San Diego likes to spend a lot of money.
Albert, thank you.
San Diego likes to throw around some money too and never make the playoffs. So
we're going to throw in the word
recess.
Okay, all right.
I'd like to slap down the word allegedly in there because
that's very funny.
it being a newscast and all. Yeah. God, can you imagine if that's true?
Okay.
God, just imagine that all the money he'd be giving up if any of these allegations, come his way.
Well, he'll go play ball in the
somewhere where they don't care,
in Japan or whatever. Yeah, I mean, but look, don't get me wrong, it's not a good thing. You don't want that stink on you either. But yeah,
no. Lastly, Sheryl Crow says the music industry is becoming more about marketing and branding and less about music. Speaking on Club Random with Bill Maher, Crow called music a byproduct of selling and advertising herself. Despite Crow's disillusionment with today's music industry, she's got a new album out. It's called Evolution, and it will come out tomorrow. So, I mean, hasn't it always been about branding and marketing? And that's the whole reason they have record companies, right?
Of course, but she's probably right that that the true artist is suffering in this environment. On the other hand, there's so many different platforms besides the traditional record companies for an artist to flourish and get their work. Look, YouTube is one of them, So.
This report is sponsored by wine, sponsored by Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore, where you can get 10% off just for being a Mark Thompson Show listener. The exclusive discount comes with a phrase that pays, and that is smash it with your iron rod.
Wow.
And
Smash it with your iron rod.
It's the phrase that pays. Yeah.
When you say it, You get the 10% off of whatever you order at Tenuta Vineyards in Livermore, and we love them. Their Mark Thompson Why Are You Yelling Red is fantastic. It's so delicious, and they have so many great wines there, and they're just really wonderful, wonderful people. You can call Rich out at Tenuta, Tenuta. The phone number is 925-699-4576. Again, 925-699-4576. You say smash it with your iron rod, you get your discount. You can order it all by phone and or online and have it arrive on your porch. Easy peasy, pumpkin squeezy. I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Shadow Stevens. This is The Mark Thompson Show. Keep it to yourself.
Who's Mark Thompson?
It is on in such a big way, everybody. Got a big guest waiting, but
Mark's Madness.
I have 2 new drops for you to vote on right now. You'll vote in this moment if you're watching live for
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Or
Where are my weed smokers at?
You vote for
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Or you'll vote for
Where are my weed smokers at?
Only one can move on to the next round. You determine it live now and in the community section till midnight on our YouTube channel. Vote and send one on to the next round. Very, very exciting. I'm excited about
The Mark Thompson Show.
March Madness. The only thing I'm more excited about is talking to this guy. Mad Magazine was like a big part of my life. And Mark Arnold has written an exhaustive history on Mad Magazine. It's just been released. Apparently, it's already doing really well. It's on top of the Amazon charts. It's already on top of the Amazon charts.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do
This
it for.
is Casey and Holly.
This is Casey Kasem in Hollywood.
Mad Magazine's new exhaustive history is already on the top of the charts. Apparently, it is a story of how Mad Magazine, and he'll tell us a little bit about this now, went from being this obscure comic book to becoming a major American magazine. How about it for the great Mark Arnold, everybody?
Hey.
Mark, thank you for sitting through everything as you waited in our green room. It is great to have you with us.
It's great to be here. Thank you very much.
Tell me, then, it wasn't just me. Mad Magazine was part of many lives for many years.
Oh, yeah. It's part of my life. I mean, I started reading
when did it break out?
Well, it started as a comic book, like you said, in 1952. And it actually started breaking out as a comic book. The first few issues didn't sell very well or anything like that. And then they did a parody in the 4th issue about Superman called Super Duper Man. And everybody seemed to catch notice that this was pretty funny stuff. So it became a hit. And even my dad read it, which I found hard to believe. But and I started reading it in 1974. So I've been a steady reader ever since.
And it did seem to satirize politics. It satirized media. They leaned into some stuff. Then they had some regular franchises. Spy versus Spy, I remember, was one of them. Right. There were a bunch of them. And of course, that poster child for the magazine, Alfred E. Newman, right?
Mm-hmm. Which I have secretly under a bag on the cover because this is unauthorized.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But because of that, yeah, I can dish the dirt. I'm not really trying to dish the dirt, but there's some interesting things behind the scenes that official Mad biographies have not disclosed easily. So I'll put it that way.
When you talk to writers and editors of Mad Magazine, when you talk to them, what were the surprises along the way for those of us who were just, passive consumers of the magazine?
Well, the biggest surprise I found was that, they're very serious guys, even though they put out a wacky, loony, zany type magazine. They'll give you straight answers. I talked at length once with Sam Viviano, who is their art director for over 2 decades. And, he told me, it was a job. It wasn't like goofing around. They did have some fun days and fun times. They appeared on 60 Minutes once and did some goofy stuff. But in general, it was just a job to produce humor for the masses.
And where do they come from? They came from like other magazines, the New Yorker, or I mean, what was the feeder work that brought them to Mad Magazine?
Well, William Gaines was the original publisher, and his dad was a publisher too. His name was Max Gaines, and Max Gaines is actually kind of like the founder of the whole comic book industry. He helped he didn't create any of these things, but he helped bring along Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman back in the 30s. And then he branched off and made his own company called EC eventually. He died in an unfortunate boating accident. Son William took over, and he decided to change it around to more of his liking, and went into other genres like horror, and created titles, or helped create titles like Tales from the Crypt, if you've heard of that.
Sure.
Walls
Wow.
of Horror, Weird Science,
Wow.
science fiction title, crime suspense stories, things like that. One of the editors that they hired was a man named Harvey Kurtzman, and he came from a funny comic book background, working at Marvel back in the 40s and stuff like that. He went to EC, started doing war books like Two-Fisted Tales, and he was complaining about his income. And Gaines said to Kurtzman, well, you have that humor background. Why don't you write a funny book? You can dash that off in a week, and you could still concentrate on your war books. And unfortunately, Kurtzman, being like a perfectionist and really into it, he spent more time on Mad than he did on the other one.
It is the case that the thing took off. So there was a moment, you're saying that, or was there a moment? What was in the evolution of the magazine, what brought it to immense prominence? I mean, it became, this kind of from the primordial ooze of these writers that you describe, and kind of doing it as a side hustle thing. They didn't even know how serious it would be. It exploded, didn't it?
Yeah. Well, it exploded in 2 times. The first time, like I said, was when they did a Superman parody, and then it got a solid readership, and it was selling as well as the horror books. Then Kurtzman, about 1954, was getting antsy and said, I want to turn this into a real magazine. And Gaines didn't want to lose him, so he crunched the numbers and he said, all right, let's turn it into a magazine. And when it turned into a magazine, it became a brand new hit all over again, because it was kind of geared towards more for adults than just children. So
that was the weird thing. As a kid, I felt like I don't get all of this, but it's still funny or weird or irreverent or something. It was landing with me, but I couldn't get everything in the magazine.
Well, that was part of the appeal. I mean, I remember when I started reading, they do parodies of movies like Death Wish. I was far too young. I was like 7 years old. I was far too young to be watching a movie like that. I saw it many years later, but you could read the parody and kind of get the gist of what they're talking about. Or The Godfather, or what was another one around that time? Clockwork Orange, things like that. So,
what was the who was the guy the illustration? I feel like the art was a big part of Mad Magazine.
Oh yeah.
Who were those artists? I mean, what was the story on them?
There's a lot of different ones. The original artists on the comics was a man named Wally Wood, Jack Davis, and Will Elder. Wally Wood is really revered in comic book circles. He does excellent science fiction work and some of the horror work. Jack Davis, when he left Mad, he left for a time, basically became kind of a household name from the standpoint as he did covers on Time magazine, just like that.
There you go.
TV Guide magazine. He did many movie posters, and he did a bunch of record albums for RCA. He became like one of the highest paid illustrators in the business. So they had their share. Later, when a lot of the people left with Kurtzman, they brought in another editor who did edit Tales from the Crypt, named Al Feldstein, and he brought the magazine to a new level by bringing in a bunch of new artists. And he brought in people like Don Martin, who drew those crazy characters, and Mort Drucker, who did caricatures very, very well, and a number of others. You know, the guy who did Spy versus Spy, Antonio Prohias, and Sergio Aragones, who's still with us, you know, did the marginals and things like that. So, and Al Jaffe did the fold-ins and everything. So he built it, and you know, it was a lot of repeat features, but it was repeat features that brought people back to the magazine over and over.
Was it a controversial magazine? You know, it took on so many of these things associated with controversial areas of life, like church, politics. Was that a problem for them, or back then were people not as easily triggered? It feels as though people have always been easily triggered.
Yeah, no, they had their problems off and on through the years. I mean, they did a story back in the comic book days called "What's My Shine," that was a take on the TV show "What's My Line" and the McCarthy era hearings and everything like that. Got a lot of flack for that. Somewhere along the line in the early 60s, they did an article about the John Birch Society. They got a lot of flack for that. In the 70s, they did a cover with the middle finger raised up, and it said the #1 magazine, and they actually had to write an apology letter and send that out. In more recent times, a lot of covers had Donald Trump on them, and you know, a lot of people got angered because they were making fun of him. But he was the president, so that's why they were.
Yeah. John says something that probably is common. I had to get my parents to let me get it initially because I think it was considered kind of trashy by some.
That's true.
It did have a kind of underground feel to it, right?
Mm-hmm. And, you know, it did inspire a lot of underground comics artists and stuff like that, like Robert Crumb. He idolized Harvey Kurtzman in the early Mad magazines. So that was that was like their gold as well.
So as you spoke to all of these Mad writers, was it hard to get a hold of them? Did everybody want to speak, or how did the process of trying to find and track down the Mad magazine story proceed?
Most of them were pretty easy to find that were living. Unfortunately, a lot of them have passed away.
Sure.
But of the living ones, probably the only one that was difficult to get a hold of was a longtime editor for 30 years, John Ficarra. But I was able to get around that by interviewing Bill Morrison, who was an editor for a time. Sam Viviano, like I said, he was art director for about 20 years. Interviewed Tom Richmond, he's like the equivalent of a Mort Drucker nowadays and does caricature art and things like that. And they gave me very complete answers and things like that.
Yeah, see, you really got a lot of the luminaries. Let me ask you quickly in our last couple of minutes here. Mad is back, right? What happened? Mad, give me what happened to it, and then whether or not it's back and how it's back in the digital age.
Well, it never really completely went away. What had happened is in 2018, Warner Brothers decided to move the entire operation from New York to Burbank, California. And in doing so, there had to be a total change of staff. Only a couple people went out and made the move cross country. That's when Bill Morrison, who worked with The Simpsons and Bongo Comics and things like that, became the editor. And he started to revitalize it and revamp it. They started the numbering over with #1. And unfortunately, they didn't really give him a great chance at it. And he was only in that position for about a year. And then they let him go, and at that point, the title became a reprint title, except for like the covers are new, and they occasionally have a new article, and the fold-ins are new, and the marginals are still new because Sergio still submits those. But it's kind of a shadow of its former self in that respect. But if you haven't read it in 30 years, yeah, that's the latest issue there with Taylor Swift.
That's funny. That's of the moment, right? That's for people just listening, not seeing. That's Alfred E. Newman as Travis Kelce holding it's a funny caricature of Taylor Swift.
Yeah, and your picture's a little fuzzy there, but he's obviously played a football game, and so he's kind of smelly. She has a clothespin on her nose. So.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, I can't see that. You're right. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the latest issue, number 36. Like I said, they started the numbering over again, and it's
that's a fresh cover, and that's related to. But you're saying when you actually get into it, it's primarily stuff that has existed prior.
Yeah, for the
Okay.
most part. They have a gentleman named Johnny Sampson who does a brand new fold-in, and occasionally Tom Richmond will submit an article. Like I said, they have new covers, but yeah, for the most part. And I'm hoping, as a lot of Mad fans are, they'll start increasing the amount of new material and not have it such a reprint title.
Does it exist as a magazine, or is it just digital now?
It is a physical magazine. You can't get it on the newsstands, on the regular newsstands anymore. You have to subscribe to it or get it in a comic book store, typically. Although they do put out occasional specials, which also have reprints, that make it into Barnes & Noble and things like that. So,
was it this is my last, I know I'm over time here, but it's kind of intriguing. Was it thank you to Liz, big shout out for a $20 super sticker. Thank you for that.
Big shout out.
For a crowdfunded show, so we give them shout outs when we get anything. I wanted to ask you about the demographic. Was it mostly a boy thing, or was it it feels like it might skew male. Am I wrong?
well, traditionally, yes, it did. It definitely skewed male. That was one of the things Bill Morrison was trying to change. Over the years, they did hire some female artists and writers and things like that, so it wasn't such a boys' club.
Where this is a question I've seen in the chat a couple of times. Viewfinders President asked, were any of the SNL writers at Mad or the other way around? It feels like maybe some of the subversive humor was kind of like an SNL kind of humor or parody.
Well, I mean, if you go back to the original cast, Chevy Chase actually did a single piece in Mad about 5 years before he appeared on Saturday Night Live. So they were all well aware of it. It's kind of hand in hand. Of course, there's a Mad TV show that was similar to Saturday Night Live for a number of years.
And it was funny, and it launched a few careers, too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Mark, it's really exciting. Congratulations on what apparently is early success with the book. It's called Unconditionally Mad. This is the first, is it unauthorized?
Unauthorized, yeah.
Yes.
And it's in two parts. That's part one, and there's a part B.
I love that there's a part one and a part B. Unconditionally Mad. Put it up there again for me, Albert, please. I was just being able to see it. The first unauthorized history of Mad magazine. There it is. So many conversations with writers, with artists, with editors. Congratulations. Really, really cool. Mad TV was so much more unhinged and better than SNL, says S. Jones. Yeah, I mean, it's the illustration is just hilarious. That is a great illustration on your front cover, says Julie. Love that you put this together and looking forward to part B. Mark Arnold, congratulations. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you very much.
All right, Mark Arnold, everybody. Good stuff. Love it, love it, love it.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Wow. Really cool. It was such a big part of my life, and I'd kind of forgotten about it until he came out with this book, and I thought, wow, this is really cool. And it turns out it landed with a bunch of other people as well. So, now, let me just ask you, Albert, Kim, I have no more guests coming, right? Are there any other guests coming over for dinner?
You've had a cavalcade of guests today. You're done.
Yeah, okay. I just want, because
it's just you, it's just the three of us and all the others now. This is it.
That's great. I love it. Just like this. No, John, this is not you. I watched Mad TV. Didn't Michael Richards start? No, he was on a show called Fridays. Michael Richards was. It was on ABC. It was kind of the answer to SNL, obviously on a Friday. But it was like Mad TV, so it's a fair comparison. But yeah, great conversation with Mark. And I'm going to go pick up the book. I think it's really a cool kind of thing to get into. So
that was an interview that was suggested by a listener viewer, Lee. So huge thank you to Lee Hester for suggesting that.
Lee Hester, big shout out.
Big shout out.
Yeah, thank you. We get a lot of good suggestions from listeners and viewers. And if you want to reach us, Albert, can you tell the boys and girls how to reach us on the email, please? It's the Mark Thompson Show. You have to put in the there in the Gmail. Otherwise, somebody else gets the email and we never hear from you. So it's themarkthompsonshow@gmail.com.
Albert, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for putting that up there, Albert. And Michael Snyder's a big Mad Magazine person. Michael Snyder, the Culture Blaster, says, my friend and awesome artist Isabel Samaras recently contributed a terrific new cover to Mad that featured Wonder Woman using her lasso of truth to remove a tooth from the grin of Alfred E. Newman.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff there. But thank you. If you want, well, that came through us came to us through the listenership.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. Yeah. Right now we're in the middle of a good one. Come on, Albert.
Now,
hit me hard, baby. Hit me
Mark's
hard.
Madness.
Hit me as hard as you can hit me. Come on, mother effer. Let's get this thing on. We are voting this hour live in the chat, and you can vote until midnight tonight for one of these two drops. Either
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
or
Where are my weed smokers at?
that's right, you'll vote for Cuban apology.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better
Or-
person.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Vote till midnight in the community section. I am excited about moving on. Now, Albert, we are still in the Sweet 16, correct?
Yeah, today's the last day. It'll be the Elite Eight going forward after today.
I love it.
Albert,
I'm
thank
very
you.
excited about moving on to the Elite Eight. I like anything with the word elite in it. You know, it makes me feel media elite,
Important.
economic elite,
Liberal elite, West
liberal
Coast
elite.
elite.
Oh, love the liberal elite. Bring on the libs.
Take it all.
Who is winning, asks S. Joan. Who is winning? Now, that's a very deep question. Because are you asking who is winning in American life? Are you asking who is winning in geopolitics? Are you asking who is winning on the show in terms of popularity? Are you asking who is winning in the grand scheme of life and of what we derive in terms of self-satisfaction? There's so much in the question of who is winning.
Why are you yelling?
So who is winning, Albert? I think she means in Mark's Madness. Can you give us an update? Again,
But even within Mark's Madness, are we talking about the overall standings right now, or are we talking about?
are you talking about overall standings? Or are you talking about the person with the greatest potential to win?
Yeah.
Are you talking about those who have made the best picks in March
come
Madness? Maybe
on.
those. Is that what you mean? I mean, who is winning? Well, who's on the top of the leaderboard, Albert? Maybe that's what S. Jones means.
Like we said, Daniel Martin, but the actual best, like we said, let me make you more confused. The best possibilities are for Sally and Nancy. They have the highest amount of points remaining.
Okay, so this is really important. What Albert is talking about is if you look at the leaderboard, the highest number of live drops that are still alive to make it to the end are for Sally and Nancy. Okay,
Ladies, taking charge.
Doesn't mean they'll win, but it means that they have the hottest lottery tickets that are still in the game. So
Yeah, they have more. If we're going to go the lottery route, they have more numbers in there still.
Right, exactly. It's Laurie says, too bad. Weed smokers is passe. Not crazy about other one either, but tired of weed smokers. Many times when not applicable at all. Yeah, Laurie has strong opinions on everything. I love that. I love that about Laurie. She's in there and she's, she very seldom does she go, nah, I don't take it or leave it. She doesn't say that Laurie doesn't have that gear. She's got opinions. She's perfect for this crew. So, all right, you vote till midnight tonight in the community section of our YouTube channel, and we continue the Elite Eight tomorrow. Woo! I'm loving life, Albert. How about Kim's news? And then I do want to, if you wouldn't mind, I would like to get to a couple of stories that we haven't gotten to yet. Big story out of the feds and managing a major situation in this country. The situation with John Eastman, who is the subversive architect of chaos. He was the lawyer for Trump and essentially the guy who was trying to overthrow the election. He was one of many, don't get me wrong, but he was in that constellation of people close to Trump who had a plan to actually overthrow the results of the election and was trying to subvert all the certified results. It was an extraordinary thing. And Eastman didn't let go of that. With these fringe legal theories and with other lawyers joining him, he now faces the very serious reality of being disbarred. And so I want to just spend a moment on that before we end the show, because these people who were the handmaidens of Donald Trump, it was a power grab, make no mistake about it. And those who carried that water, we should recognize them because they are truly toxic. And I want to spend a moment talking about John Eastman. So we'll do that when we come back. We're not going anywhere, but I'm just saying when we finish with Kim's News, I'm going to be right here for every second of Kim's News. Looking forward to that. Smash the like button.
Are you really?
I am. I'm right here.
You're going to go for more Coachella Valley coffee. That's where you're going.
I got my Coachella Valley coffee right here. Yes, I've got it right here.
All right.
I don't know how many people do this with your coffee or your tea, but I cover it like that so it stays hot. And that's why it can be here for the entire show. And I have another little carafe of it that I continue to replenish this coffee with. So it's a little look inside what's going on. All right. Can we move on, please?
Your Honor, I'd like to ask for a recess.
Exactly. Let's have a recess. She's the one who challenged me, Albert. All I said is I'm going to have some coffee. I'll be right here. And all of a sudden, Kim starts with oh, really? Are you going to be there? Is that right? Are you going to be? I mean, it just...
Always a problem with you. Always.
Exactly.
Which one do you use, Mark Thompson?
Always a problem. Kim is...
ridiculous.
And this is the point.
I blame you.
It's always with Kim. She's stirring it. I said nothing. We're going to stop for Kim's News. Is
Me
what
and
I said.
Lori,
You heard it.
we're going to be over here stirring up trouble. That's
and
right.
I said, I'll be right here. And she said, oh, will you really?
I blame you.
Oh, all right. All right. Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Top story on the Huffington Post right now has this huge headline where they call President Biden Jackpot Joe. That's because he's
going to this fundraiser tonight.
That's big fundraiser. He's going to join former presidents Bill Clinton and Barack Obama on stage at Radio City Music Hall in what is expected to be the most lucrative political fundraising event in American history. In total, according to the Huffington Post, this event will raise more than $25 million, and that is per the Biden-Harris campaign. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump raised $20 million in all of February, per his campaign finance filing. So a single event, $25 million. This is going to be a big deal. Representative James Comer, by the way, speaking of bitter beans, he's still trying to get this whole Biden impeachment thing going. He is not giving up. He's like a dog with a bone. This week, he's coming up with a new reason for why reporters keep writing he's found no evidence incriminating President Biden. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland spoke with a radio host on Fox News. I guess Comer says, this is what Comer tells Fox News, rather, that Garland, Attorney General Garland, is working with the deep state who's working with the liberal mainstream media to indoctrinate into people's minds that there's no evidence.
Wow.
Ooh. Did you get it? I didn't get my call from Garland. Did you get your call from Garland?
No, that's a great...
I must have missed it.
I would say this about Merrick Garland. He's weak sauce. He's awful. I wish he were working with the deep state. I wish he were working at all. I don't understand. Merrick Garland slow-walked the appointment of Jack Smith. He then, after the appointment of Jack Smith, in my view, has sort of been checked out. He's done nothing. I mean, can you imagine in any way accusing Merrick Garland of being aggressive in any way? Merrick Garland is an absolute embarrassment. I wish he would resign and put somebody in there who, I mean, my God, you're talking about an attempt to overthrow the American government on the part of the last administration. And, you know, this new Attorney General, Merrick Garland, is not new anymore, he's an absolute immense disappointment. And I'm not looking for someone to concoct evidence like the guy you're seeing who's trying to concoct evidence against Biden. but I am looking to pursue the trail of evidence to a reasonable conclusion. So this guy is this is so ridiculous where you start talking about it's the deep state, it's this, it's that.
Deep
It's,
state talking to the attorney general, reaching out to the liberal media. Yeah. But the craziest thing is people are actually going to believe that giant scoop of horse poop.
I agree. Yeah. I think that that's probably true.
Speaking of impeachments, the House will send the impeachment articles against Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas to the Senate
that's another
next
embarrassment.
month.
Give me a break.
House Republicans impeached Mayorkas last month for his handling of the U.S.-Mexico border. Speaker Mike Johnson will send those articles of impeachment to the upper chamber on April 10th. In New York City, they're doing something a little controversial. In New York City, they're going to be testing this new technology that can detect weapons in the subway system, supposedly. So after a 90-day notice period, mobile weapons technology equipment will be placed at select subway stations as part of a pilot program to make the subway system safer. The New York Police Department will be working to identify companies with weapons detection technology, starting with a company called Evolve. Here's the Evolve equipment that you see before you here. Mayor Eric Adams says the new technology doesn't involve the use of facial recognition and it won't capture people's identity, so they don't have to worry. I don't know. New York police have seized 450 weapons in the transit system so far this year. Apparently, it's a big uptick from this time last year. So,
they need to do something, and it's smart that they're bringing some technology to bear. They need to do something for sure.
Yeah. LinkedIn is beta testing short form videos. You have the Reels on Facebook, you've got the TikTok. Now LinkedIn is getting in on the action. The career-focused social media network has a new video tab. When users click that tab, they're taken to a video feed a lot like TikTok. So we'll see if that does anything for LinkedIn. They had some layoffs there recently, so I guess they need to do something to be competitive in the social media space.
I think that's true. I think they're trying to pivot might be the wrong word, but certainly integrate some social media aspects to what they're already doing. Yeah.
Speaking of technology, Google, I can say it, now lets users tap artificial intelligence to build travel itineraries. It's part of Google's new search generative experience, the option currently only available to users in the United States enrolled in Search Labs. NVIDIA keeps on a-rolling. The stock has been leading the NASDAQ into record territory with demand for its AI chips soaring. NVIDIA's stock up 82% for the quarter, 14% in just March. Whew. Yeah, they're doing it.
That is insane.
There's never been anything like this.
Well, that is pretty impressive. How's your stock doing, sir? If I can ask Donald Trump.
That was very inappropriate.
Well, I'm just saying.
DJT.
Your Truth Social stock. What is the deal with that, Albert? Can you check his Truth Social stock? What's the latest on the DJT is what it is on the
Google it.
It's a meme stock. I have it here. I'll share it with you after Kim's news. Yeah.
Somehow, some way, records keep defying the odds, and despite for decades being the technology that was out of date, and we had CDs topping the sales, right?
Yeah.
Records returned to the top spot in 2022.
That's crazy. Vinyl?
They sold more records than they did CDs. Yes. Even though you probably still have a CD player in your car, you're buying more records, apparently.
I don't even know if you have a CD player in your car. Do you? Do you have a CD player in your car?
I do, because my car is
I guess.
10, 12 years old. Yeah.
I wish I had a CD player in my car. I do not.
No.
Yeah, I have a CD that's stuck in my car, and it's been in there for over 12 years. Yeah. It's kind of a bummer soundtrack too. Yeah, I don't listen to it often.
What do you have stuck in there, Albert?
Yeah, what's stuck in there? That's a good question.
It's I don't know. Meg and Dia is the band, and Dia Frampton was on The Voice, I think season 2. So, but that was a pre-Voice album from them.
No, that's very cool. Some old school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the Recording Industry Association of America says it's not just a fluke that vinyl outsold CDs for a second year running in 2023. This time, though, records widened the lead even more. Music fans in the United States bought about 43 million vinyl records in 2023, 6 million more than total CD sales last year. Vinyl record sales, actually increased year to year by nearly 3 million sales. So a lot of people are into playing those records. They're not giving it up. Going a little bit, it's a kind of little vintage thing where you're going back into history. You appreciate the sound, the crackling sound of the record. A lot of people are into it.
I don't understand it, as I've told you. I mean, I don't understand how you appreciate the crackling sound. It was awful. When CDs came along, it was the greatest moment in the history of recordings. I
more
couldn't
skipping,
believe.
no more, right?
Exactly. The skipping thing is a real thing, man. You had to replace vinyl because the record skipped. And then even when it didn't skip, you're always sweating because it would warp and so you'd see the needle bobbing up and down. I mean, you know, those of us who grew up with vinyl, it sucked. And I don't want to hear, I mean, I don't mind hearing, but I'm just saying, I always hear, oh, no, dude, there was much broader audio spectrum and broader range. When, you know, CDs, you just lost so much in the way of quality. Maybe, but wasn't that offset, that audio quality, by the fact that you're hearing the popping and hissing that Kim's talking about? I don't know, man.
Well, let me tell you something. My 14-year-old daughter listens to records, right? She's got her digital music, but when she's in her room, she's got my old record player from when I was in high school, and it's in her room, and she's got records. She's got Frank Sinatra records. She's got records that used to be my grandparents from the 40s that she's listening to, but the most records that she listens to are Taylor Swift records, and that is what they're saying has led this push of record sales, because Taylor Swift has all of her albums out in different colored collector items records, and people are snapping them up.
That's real.
Yeah.
This is Casey Kasem in Hollywood.
Yeah, it looks as though Taylor Swift's latest are being scooped up by Kim McAllister's house.
That's right.
This is Casey Kasem in Hollywood.
Yeah, all the different colors of Taylor's offerings.
That's right. According to The Verge, people bought fewer CDs this year than in 2022 as well.
Wow.
So altogether, records generated nearly double the profit of CDs, about $1.4 billion versus $437 million. So there you have
it is. Skipping, warping, scratches, worn needles. Give me a CD, but digital stream music is really compressed. That is true. Yeah. I don't know how much it's noticed by the ear, but it is true. And then there's this from Spencer. Vinyl is better than new ones. I don't know. Maybe.
Yep.
Bang Olufsen. Yeah, I know. Those are great systems.
The kids, they want the vinyl. What can I say?
Yeah.
This report is sponsored by you, which means we really do count on you to help us crowdfund this Mark Thompson Show. Please find us at themarkthompsonshow.com. Patreon and PayPal links are there. Easy to click through, super easy, and we really appreciate you supporting the Mark Thompson Show. I'm Kim McAllister. This is the Mark Thompson Show.
They had to close down an entire radio station to silence him. And now, he's here. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Thompson.
Morning. Smash it with your iron rod. Morning.
I'd come from regular stock.
Sayonara, sucker.
There's a reason that this place is fun.
What?
Don't ever use that word.
What are the porn stars doing, Mark?
Google it.
They pay me a lot of money for having attitude.
What you say is the political dogma that they're trying to shove down our throats.
Straight up right in, no problem.
Saudi Arabia pays cash.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
There's never been anything like this.
Cuatro años más.
I don't wear a mask for the same reason I don't wear underwear. Things gotta breathe.
Say what?
Do you have a secret talent?
You get nothing.
Thank you so much.
Y'all can all go to hell, and I'm going back to Texas.
What can you tell us about the scene?
Out of time. Bye-bye.
Did you really just do that?
Right on, everybody. Great to have you here. This is our Thursday show. It's a weird week for us because David Katz, who normally is heard on Thursdays, moved to Wednesdays this week. I really recommend that video. We dropped it as a separate video. He's the former federal prosecutor. He has got great takes. And as you know, he's on London media. He's on Fox News Channel. He's on all the networks use him, CNN. And he's so cool to come here once a week, normally on Thursdays. But this week, he had to travel, and so we brought him in yesterday. So I recommend that video to you. But just to explain why things are a little bit different today. One of the things that I really like about today is it reminds me a bit of my old podcast, which I sort of reluctantly let go of, which was longer form conversations that weren't always about politics. They were just sort of off the beaten track. Remind me a lot of the KGO radio. We did a lot of this on the radio show where we bring somebody in, just did the history of Mad Magazine or Holocaust survivor and with some who's now a hotelier. I mean, these are fascinating people who we wouldn't get a chance to meet otherwise, so we spend some time with them. We do a lot of politics, a lot of news on the show. I think that sort of informs our show for the most part, but it's really cool to talk to some of these other people. So smash the like button like a boss. Thank you for being here as we do continue. And
The Mark Thompson Show.
I did want to spend a moment on John Eastman. He is such a piece of garbage from the world of law, you know, the architect of the election plot. Essentially, there were several different efforts, as you know, to overthrow the 2020 election. Several meaning they tried it through the courts, they tried it through violence, and they tried it through fake electors. You had any number of ways that they were looking to essentially get around the people's voice, the vote. So Eastman was the architect of the legal challenges that could be essentially spun because they were completely crackpot. Well, yesterday, a judge here in California where we do the show recommended the disbarment of John Eastman, calling to revoke the law license of, again, one of the top lawyers to Donald Trump during this whole 2020 last-ditch effort to subvert the 2020 election. Judge Yvette Rowland, who presided over months of testimony and argument about the basis of Eastman's fringe legal theories, ruled that the veteran conservative attorney violated ethics rules and even potentially criminal law when he was talking about Trump and the ways in which you could overturn the election results based on the weak or completely discredited claims of fraud. And as you know, those charges of fraud didn't stand up at all. In fact, oftentimes when called upon to produce the evidence of fraud, Rudy Giuliani is like classic example of this. Giuliani kept saying, I left the evidence in my other pants. It was really like one of those things where they just never could produce any evidence. Now, Eastman, of course, will appeal the decision from the judge, and he'll appeal it to a panel of judges. That's an interim step before the matter will then get to the state Supreme Court. But while his appeal is pending, the ruling will force his law license into what's called an inactive status. So he can no longer practice law in California. I should mention, I think Eastman was a professor of law, so I don't know how much actual practicing of law he was doing until he felt, I got to get into the game and help, my Jesus, Donald Trump, achieve another 4 years in power, even if it's not legit. This is a quote, given the serious and extensive nature of Eastman's unethical actions, the most severe available professional sanction is warranted to protect the public and preserve the public confidence in the legal system. That was the writing from the judge. It was a 128-page opinion, and it lacerates Eastman and his conduct, his lack of remorse. The judge concluded that he made knowingly flimsy claims of fraud and irregularities in legal filings on Trump's behalf, including his brief for Donald Trump in a Supreme Court fight. The judge walked through Eastman's extensive involvement in Trump's efforts to overturn the election results, from his early lawsuits that failed to gain traction to his bid to solicit GOP state legislatures to send alternate electors to Congress. So he wasn't just some lawyer who said, yeah, I'll stand up in front of the judge and sort of sling it against the wall and see if it sticks. He also was coming up with this plan that was hatched, which involved fake electors sent to Congress. It's outrageous. I mean, I just think our memory of what this was all about is so short.
No, this is someone who should be embarrassed to show their face in public, who did something so un-American and continues to, have all the rights and privileges of an American citizen. Aren't lawyers, though, there's this in movies you see, don't tell your, what the lawyer will say, don't tell me what you did, right? Because they're not supposed to go into court and lie. There are standards, even though people say lawyers aren't good, they're dishonest or whatever. They do have standards. You're not supposed to knowingly lie. And here you have this guy who came up with the whole situation.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Well, I mean, it looks like it is going to happen, the disbarment. It is true. I'm a little bit hesitant to say, I know that there is this sense that, lawyers are bad people or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. I think lawyers operate in a system of law that actually does a lot of good. It protects people. It's a way that you can get, you can hold to account many people who do wrong, and many companies, businesses, and other entities that do wrong against you. So I celebrate lawyers who oftentimes are doing important work to protect the environment and to protect those who need protection. But you're right, Kim. The reputation that the legal profession has is a damaged one, and there's certainly a lot of lawyers who don't fall into the category of doing anything righteous. And this guy, it can lead that parade. I mean, Eastman had extensive involvement in this effort to overturn the 2020 election results. And as I say, it was every step of the way. And in the judge's summary, which is 128 pages, this judgment, there are all kinds of quotes like this one. He turned a blind eye to any information that would not support his position of election fraud. She found him, Eastman, culpable for 10 of 11 of the charges that state bar investigators brought against him: misleading the courts, lack of candor, and plotting with Trump to derail the transfer of power. Quote, Eastman conspired with President Trump to obstruct a lawful function of the government of the United States, specifically by conspiring to disrupt the electoral count on January 6, 2021. Any reasonable person can see the inherent unfairness of prohibiting a presumed innocent defendant from being able to earn the funds needed to pay for the enormous expenses required to defend himself. That quote came from who? His attorney. Yeah. But the judge just excoriated him, scorched him. He's going to lose his law license. He's already lost it now in this period. But the idea that John Eastman can survive this professionally is sickening to me, and I don't think he will survive it professionally. She mentions lack of remorse, unwillingness to acknowledge any ethical lapses. He did testify for hours during the trial, and I think he was interviewed on 60 Minutes, and I thought he comes across as a sort of sober-sided legal mind. But the reality is he's slinging it. It was a power grab. Don't take these guys for anything more than what they are. These are just lawyers who are trying to seize a second term for Donald Trump any way they could do it. So I say sayonara, sucker.
Sayonara, sucker.
Yeah, good day, sir.
Good day, sir.
Exactly. So it is good day, sir, for him, because he is out now in terms of his ability to practice law in the short and medium term anyway. As I say, those appeals are open to him.
The Mark Thompson Show.
The other thing I wanted to mention to you, apart from the world of overthrowing elections is that Donald Trump's stock is now a meme stock. This is something that Albert mentioned yesterday. These stocks that exist, I mentioned when the stock first hit the market, we talked about the fact on this show, I talked about it was really a GameStop type play. People were jumping on the stock because of Trump. Trump's brand is what drove the stock at the beginning. Now, this is what's referred to as a meme stock, meaning there's no real business underneath it. It's being driven by the street. It's being driven by a community that just keeps buying into it. They, without regard to the financials, they just keep buying into it, and that's what's happened. So, it got his DJT emblazoned on it. So it's really buying into him almost literally with his initials, and he has set himself up, if it can hang out for 6 months, with cashing out with a considerable fortune. Now, those of you who bought into the stock, I have news for you. The stock is a loser, will be a loser. There is no business there. Trump Social is hemorrhaging users. It, even before it hemorrhaged users, was never really a player at the table. Now, you can say to me, well, Mark, I understand it may be losing money, but don't a lot of big companies lose money? I mean, you hear about Uber losing money, Facebook lost money at the very beginning. There are a bunch of these big startups in Silicon Valley that lose money at the beginning. Why can't Donald Trump's company lose some money, but you libs are all over it and criticizing it? Well, because those companies like Uber, Facebook, etc., they were losing money. It's true. They weren't showing a profit, but they were expanding in what way? They were expanding in users. More people were using Uber. Uber was expanding at a great rate, which is one of the reasons it was losing money. So much more money was required to really accommodate the expansion. Same was true at Facebook and some of these other social media companies. So that's not the case at DJT. DJT, as I've just told you, is losing players, losing money, losing users. And so the money loss is not associated with anything that's going on in the business associated with success. The business is a failure. But thanks to you guys buying in on it, it's running it up enough for him because he has founder shares. So Donald Trump's going to be fine if, again, they can prop it up for the 6-month period. Or as articulated by David K. Johnston, he can work some backroom deal with somebody who's selling the stock short, etc. So when we talk about this company and buying into it, again, you're running it up. It's a meme stock. But if you bought in at the open, you're down. You had to flip your stock pretty quickly, I think. It opened at what, 70, I think?
Around there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if you look at the current trade, I believe I don't know what it's trading for right this minute. Maybe you can see that, Albert, what it's trading for right this minute. But I believe it's in the 60s. That's what I'd seen last. So I don't think there's money to be made here right now. If you just wanted to get in and flip it. But it's definitely working for him. Because as I say, he's getting shares that he didn't have to pay for, first of all. They're founder shares. He's basically doing what he always does. He's just producing bluster on his social media platform, and then he'll flip it. So I think this is a stock that will be interesting to watch and a company that will be interesting to watch because it feels a lot like some of his other businesses. Trump University, which is all show and no go. The stakes, which collapsed. A lot of the efforts that he's had along the way that just have not materialized. And, of course, now he's selling Bibles, and that's a cool thing to fall back on. When you can fall back on the Lord, you're really doing, I think, good work. This is funny. Truth Social is like buying a can of fog. Yeah. But, I mean, again, if you're looking for a way to, I don't know, own a piece of the former president, and here is the latest. I can't quite see, Albert, what that...
Oh, sorry, I went the wrong way. Okay.
Oh, okay, Kim.
There it is, 61.96. We're down.
Yeah, 61.96. So it's down
6.43%. We're down. Yeah, it's down $4.26. Not doing so well.
Yeah, and again, it opened at about 70. So if you got in and you're going, I mean, you can put the 5-day in there, maybe, Kim. You see how it says F5 5-day right below it.
Yeah.
There you go. You had it. There you go. Boom. I think I guess it's roughly the same. I don't know. I'm not seeing. Yeah. So in any case, it's not a winner for you. Is the point? If you got the only way you could have made money on this stock is to have bought into the SPAC, to have bought into that shell company that produced the opportunity to set this stock up. But that's way more than you ever cared about or wanted to know about this. But that is the drill down at this moment on this now meme stock. It's like GameStop. Where it is on the NASDAQ bears no relation to what the underlying business is about. It's all show and no go. So that's the latest on that.
The Mark Thompson Show.
And let me tell you, it gives me no pleasure to say that, because you know me, I love my Donald Trump, the greatest.
There's never been anything like
greatest president in the history of this great country, and I wish him well with his Bibles and his champagne and his steaks, and bring back some of that stuff, the sneakers. Bring back that stuff. I mean, that's what he does best. He's a pitch man. He's the best pitch man in the world.
You believe the Bible? This is applicable for the drop. This is the word from the Lord, and he is not happy.
Yeah,
this is a word from the Lord, and he's not happy.
Yeah. The interviewer, they ask him his favorite Bible passage, and you could literally see the fear in his eyes as he says, it's too personal for me. Best books next to Art of the Deal, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway. Are you having a medical episode? Is that a question for me? I think I've been having a medical episode for about 10 years now, actually. It's a slow-moving medical episode. So, Albert, before I get off the air here, I do want to update Mark's Madness.
Now, I can't believe it! Mark's Madness.
Come on, Albert. This is a classic. It's either...
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Cuban apology or...
Where are my weed smokers at?
Yeah. Cuban apology.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Or...
Where are my weed smokers at?
Lori doesn't like where my weed is, but where my weed is winning, Lori. So how's that? 67%. You've gotten till midnight tonight to vote. In the community section of our YouTube channel, you'll go there. It says live, it says shorts, it says videos, it says community. Click on community and you can vote for Where My Weed or Cuban Apology, or you can vote for, in the first hour, it was 30 to 35% idiots or My Bad, I'm Sorry. And 30 to 35% idiots, last time I checked, was leading My Bad, I'm Sorry. So,
wow.
I know.
And again, you can even, if you're subscribed to the show, so please subscribe. It'll appear in your subscriber box. So where you see our breakout videos, the polls will be there too. So just hit your subscriber tab, which might be easier, and you'll probably see all of our.
Oh yeah, just subscribe and you'll get it automatically. Yeah, good. Well, you guys are jinxing the stock.
Oh no. You said you hope it does really well.
I hope it really, Jim, I want to retire. I'll tell you what I did, and I don't recommend this for everybody. But I just cashed in my 401k and I bought Donald Trump stock. I really did, yeah.
You're going big or going home.
And then I took a second mortgage on my house to actually buy in more, because I realized I didn't buy in enough the first time. Yeah, it's really excited. Well, anyway, good luck, everybody. I wanted to recognize, I just saw, can I recognize again Kathleen Bryant? I think great super sticker for 20. Thank you, Kathleen.
Big shout out.
And was there anybody else? I thought, anyway, all of you who supported us today, my God, you've been great. Really, really great. Kim's a troublemaker. I agree, Ron. Kim is a troublemaker. Yeah, I don't understand.
I blame you.
Yeah, all right. Well,
I'm Shadow Stevens for the Mark Thompson Show. Bye-bye.
Kim's going over to the after party live. We'll be here tomorrow with Friday Madness. Till tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.